but it's itchy. So please excuse me if I do a lot of this. I guess that's my only disclaimer. Anyway, so today is about Holly Black's Cruel Prince. Now, I guess I'm itchy here too. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be like, this is the worst review in the history of the world because you're crazy, because Cruel Prince is amazing. But I have tried reading it twice now. And I'm actually listening to The Wicked King because I'm OCD like that. And unless I truly loathe a series, I'll finish it. Especially because sometimes the books get better. It's like the author just needs to build steam. The first time I tried to listen to it, I guess I'd completely forgotten that I'd actually finally checked it out. Because as I've discussed, I do not understand why audiobooks on these digital platforms have holds, like a waiting list. So I'd been on a waiting list for this book. And I guess I'd forgotten that I'd been notified that I actually gotten the book. And so then I check my app and I have like 2 days left to read it. So I was like, whoa, gotta read it, because I like the premise. I really do. I'm really interested by the fae and by fantasy. I can't write fantasy, but I like reading about it. So I tried, and I was bored out of my skull. So, like with, what was the other series? Isn't it funny that even if I don't like a series, I might still have it? I don't think I have it. It doesn't matter. There was another series that I wanted to read because everybody, I know what it was. The Mortal Instruments was another series that great reviews. A good friend of mine loves it. And so I have tried reading/listening to it multiple times, and I just can't get into the world. But I'm always thinking maybe I've changed. Or maybe I was just in the wrong frame of mind last time. So I decided to read it again because you know what? Not only does it have a great title, but I love the artwork and something that something that is so aesthetically pleasing to me and appealing to me. It continues to reel me in, for better or for worse. I started listening to it again. It still didn't really do it for me. But I would listen to it while I took a shower, and so I would just turn it on. I can not necessarily waste 15 minutes of my time, but I'm already doing something for that 15 minutes, and I cannot take a quiet shower. I guess I've listened to music or something while I showered for who knows how long, since like iPods came out, so 15 years. So it's like, if I'm gonna be here and I don't want it to be quiet, I'll just listen and put up with it. But sometimes when I listen to something in the shower, I just carry it around with me through the house while I'm getting dressed, while I'm getting my lunch, doing whatever. Or, it's something I'm listening to in the car. And then I pause it once I get to work. As a nanny, I can do this. Most of you can't. But then as soon as, my day starts and my bosses are gone and the kids are doing what the kids are doing, I turn it back on, Cruel Prince is not one that I want to do that with. Cruel Prince is, okay, that was a really torturous 15 minutes. Thank the Lord I can finally turn it off, and I'm going on with my day. For those of you who don't know about The Cruel Prince, it follows a human girl named Jude who is living in the land of Fae because her mother had been married to a red cap, which, if you've read Harry Potter, you know what a red cap is. He's a Fae, and they got pregnant. She realized, I gotta get out of here because this dude's dangerous, and she faked her own death, ran away to the mortal world with a mortal man, and then had Jude and her twin sister. I can't even remember her twin sister's name. That's how little I care. It will come to me. But anyways, so then, gosh, I think they were 10-ish. Yes, they were about 10. Maddox, who is her sister Vivian's father, finds them, kills the mother, kills the father, and then out of a sense of duty takes all 3 girls back to Faye with him. So then Jude grows up in this land that basically hates her for being human, but she has no other options. So she kind of has a Stockholm syndrome thing going on with Maddox, in which she hates him because he killed her parents and he ruined her life, and he stole her away to a place she didn't want to be, but she also loves him because he's the closest thing she has to a father figure. And it's not like, I mean, as a red cap, he is cruel, but it's not like he is cruel to her. And he does invest in her, and he teaches her how to sword fight and, you know, things and whatnot. So that's kind of all preface. The story opens with her, she's 16, 17, and she is one, as I said, as a human, all the Fae hate her because she doesn't belong there. And she is constantly being picked on by the prince of the realm. I can't even remember his name. It will come to me too. By him and his group of friends. She hates them in return. So he is the cruel prince. But he is like, he's the last in succession, and he is the least favored, the least loved, the least wanted of his father's children. Anyway, so his father, Faye don't die, but his father is like, I'm done. I don't want to be king anymore. I've been around a couple hundred years. Like, it's time for me to move on. So he is going to crown Cardan. He's going to crown Cardan's brother. I can only think of Baelkin. Anyways, he's going to crown the non-Baelkin brother king, but then Baelkin, who is in league with Maddox, massacres the entire family except for Cardan, who is drunk and therefore out of sight, in order to gain the throne. However, without a blood relative to crown him, he cannot be king. So then Jude, finding Cardan, realizes she's got some dealing power here, and she has to figure out a way to keep Baelkin off the throne. And okay, so we're getting into some spoilers here. So her father, or not father, but Maddox has remarried at some point, and they have a child named Oak. She realizes that Oak, I think it's Dane, is the brother that was going to be crowned king. So Oak is actually Dane's son. And Dane had heard a prophecy that if this child lived, he was going to die. So he goes and he kills the mother, and then he thinks he kills the baby because she was pregnant. The mother secrets him away to Jude's stepmother, who was a good friend of hers. So Jude realizes, hey, Oak is a blood relative. I can get him on the throne. Not only is he a blood relative, but he can be king. He can be High King. But she does not want him to grow up in the land of Fae because it's just not a very pleasant place. It's kind of like he just wouldn't have a good childhood. He would be a pawn in Maddox's game. So she tricks Cardan into believing that they are going to get Oak on the throne, but then has Oak crown Cardan, who does not want to be king. So then we end there, where Oak is now in the human realm with Vivian, and I still don't remember Jude's sister's name. They are not speaking because one of Cardan's little quartet of friends had tricked Jude into thinking that he liked her / loved her, only to realize that he was playing games with her and he had secretly been courting her twin sister. So now she is angry because the twin knew about it. Things are left off with Cardan has been sworn to Jude for a year and a day. He is now the king, and things are kind of in shambles, but not in shambles. And there we go. My problem, in essence, this book should have been good. It had all the hallmarks of a good story. I thought it was slow, and I thought Jude just plain old lacked. She was not interesting. She was not exciting, even though she had every possibility of being a fantastic heroine. She had all this anger in her and all this desire to prove herself, but she didn't do anything. Like, sure, she learned how to sword fight, but that was more Matic than her. Like, she did like it. You know, she wanted to prove herself because, you know, if she could get one of the princes to, I guess, accept her into their circle as a knight, as a warrior, then she could prove her worth despite being a human. Matic was like, not gonna happen. But anyway, so she does have ambition, but she also knows what can happen if she does the wrong thing. So she doesn't do anything. So events come to her instead of her going to them. And, you know, even when she comes up with her plan, I didn't feel like she and the plot were moving toward anything. It was just kind of like, I'm moving throughout my day, and I'm talking to you about how my days are going in succession, and this happens, but I just did not feel like there was much forward momentum. I mean, obviously there is, because there was an end of the book and things happened, but purposeful forward momentum. Like, the protagonist took calculated steps to do something in order to achieve a goal. The only thing, really, was at the end when Oak crowns Cardan instead of Cardan crowning Oak, which kind of comes out of nowhere, kind of doesn't, if you're paying attention. You know, when you're reading a bad book, or listening to a bad book, or listening to a bad song, or watching a bad movie, you know, the thoughts in your head are all critique. So I'm listening to it, but I'm critiquing it, and there's all kinds of things I miss, but this is just one of those books that I don't care if I missed anything, because I didn't feel like I missed out on anything, because it was so slow. You know, another reason that I gave it a second chance was I was at the library checking something out, and somehow the topic came up with the librarian, and she was talking about how much she loves Holly Black, who has other books that came out before the Cruel Prince trilogy. And I was like, well, and I told her my feelings, and she was like, yeah, I agree, the first one's kind of but I was like, people love this book. There's got to be something to this book. I am just not seeing it. And I think it's because I like active protagonists. I don't like protagonists who curse people out in their heads, but then smile and bow when they actually see them. You know, it's like, if you have an issue, do something about it. And she doesn't. Even when she is doing something, she doesn't know what she's doing. Like, in her plan to get somebody else on the throne, she realizes she needs allies. She has no idea how to get allies. So other people are giving her advice on how to do it right. And so, like, she's still not doing anything. She has no clue what she is doing. She needs everybody else's help in order to achieve her aims. And that's just a problem for me. Because I don't mind a character needing help. Because there is no character arc, no character growth if they're already fully formed at the beginning of the novel. But when they consistently cannot do anything of their own volition, that is a problem. I don't know. That's a dead horse. I could beat it until it rises again and dies again. You know, it just amazes me, because it's well written. It is. So it amazes me how a well-written, well-thought-out book can still suck. can still put me to sleep. I just do not understand how something that involves genocide and wars between races and overcoming obstacles and proving oneself, like all the elements of a really good adventure fantasy novel, can bore me to tears. I mean, I'm trying to think of a standout moment from The Cruel Prince. And I will give you two instances that really got me interested, really drew my ear, although one of them is pushing it a little bit. The first one that I can legitimately say, I was like, all right, and you're gonna think I'm crazy, is when Jude stabs her own hand. Before Prince Dane is crowned, he comes to her because he wants her in his inner circle, his court. So he comes to her and he's like, I want you, not necessarily by my side, but I want you in my my arsenal. Mostly because she can lie. Because nobody in Fae can lie. Humans can lie, nobody else can. So as a spy for him, if she's caught, she can lie about why she's there. So she's valuable to him. And I forget exactly what happens. But he comes to her at her house and he basically wants her to swear her loyalty to him. You know, to say, I will do what it takes. Like, she's already sworn to him, but something has happened that, I guess, causes some uncertainty within her moral compass. I could be very wrong. All I remember is that he has a dagger and he's going to stab her hand, and then he doesn't. And then what she realizes is that he wants her to do it herself. And that really captured my attention because this is, kind of Solomon's choice, where she can prove her loyalty to him or she can walk the other way. And it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to harm yourself because he's a sadist? Or are you going to walk away and try to figure out your own way through the world of Fae until you're old enough to leave? Or whatever you want to do. She does it. She stabs through her own hand. And I'm like, that takes guts. That is a protagonist that I will stick with. Then she goes back to being boring. So then, it might even be the same day. Sometime later in the novel, I'm telling you, it just takes forever. Everything blends together. One of Cardin's inner circle, inner sanctum, who truly hates her. We learn Cardin does hate her, but he hates himself because he actually likes her. And as a human, for him, that's unacceptable. He has all these warring emotions of hate, love, push, pull, whatnot, that kind of give him dimension. I mean, I do like Cardin. She, I find to be very flat, whereas I think he has dimension. Her sister, who I still can't remember her name, please write it down in the comments. Tell me what her name is. I know I will hear it when I turn the Wicked King on. But anyways, her sister, I find to be intriguing because we're set up with how they kind of only have each other. Like, they have this bond, yet the sister will give it up in order to escape the persecution from Cardin and his gang. Because she's secretly dating Locke, and she will betray her own sister for a boy who will not be monogamous. He will not be faithful to her. He plays a game with Jude. Like, with the sister's knowledge and, I guess, permission, pursues Jude. But still, who does the sister side with? Not Jude. And so as much as you hate her, you're also like, there's something there. Whereas Jude, she's like, oh, I'm angry at you, but I'm not going to do anything about it. I hate it here, but I want to live here for the rest of my life. Like, she doesn't make sense. I feel like she has no motivation. Anyways, another character I may never remember his name, who legitimately hates Jude because she's a human. He's one of her worst tormentors. And he, at some point in the novel, accosted her, and unbeknownst to him, she was underneath Prince Dane's protection. And so the Fae can get humans to bend to their will. Anyways, so she doesn't, and she stabs him with a knife that is a certain kind of metal that is harmful to the Fae. So he wants to retaliate. So he comes to her room, is there to murder her, right? Which you think, like, this book, it should be so exciting. I mean, murder ain't no thing in this book. Like, it's about power. So he's there to murder her, and she ends up killing him. Like, all right, Jude, because again, by killing him, she can upset the balance. And so it's like, again, do you save your own skin, or do you let this awful creature kill you? So she kills him. I find this hilarious. The Fae don't decompose. Like, when Balekin killed his father turned into a bunch of red moths. Sometimes they turn into flowers, but other times they just, it's kind of like they're embalmed. Like, their bodies don't decay. So anyway, now she has this dead body in her room, and she's like, what do I do with it? So she hides it under the bed, and then she buries it out by the horse stables. I just think this was hilarious and completely ridiculous at the same time. Because again, it's kind of like, so what? I mean, to what aim was killing him? How does that further the novel? Except you've gotten rid of a villain. How did that improve her character? How did that cause character growth? I don't know. Because it's not like she struggles with it. Of course she has a little bit of guilt because she killed Cardan's friend. And she knows she could get in trouble if someone found out she killed one of the, like a noble fae. But there is no moral dilemma. There is no war that occurs. Maybe something happens in one of the later books because of it, but there is no repercussion for her killing what's-his-face. None whatsoever. But she hides him under her bed, like she rolls him under her bed, and then she drags him out to the barn. Like, I mean, I liked that moment where she had to decide, save herself, or I think it's like save face from Matic. In any case, those were really the only 2 points where I felt like she showed any real pluck and anything that made me want to get behind her. And even the second instance where she kills the guy, in the aftermath, what was the point? I mean, she didn't prove herself to anybody. Nobody knows she did it. Even still in Wicked King, one person is guessed. She told Cardan at the end of Cruel Prince to get him on her side, or to get him to do what she wanted him to do, because she wanted to exert, I guess, her power. Like, she wanted him to know she could be ruthless too. But I'm just like, I need more. I need more of her outside of her internal anger and angst. Internalizing will get you nowhere. It really won't. Like, it'll just make you a really horrible person to be around. I mean, and even now, as I'm reading The Wicked King, like, she does nothing. She is Cardan's, essential? And so it's kind of like his right-hand man, his advisor, but even then, she has no power. And she's constantly worried about people finding out that Carden has pledged himself to her will, to her submission, essentially. And she's worried that Carden is going to make stupid decisions because all he cares about is getting drunk and having fun. But she doesn't do anything. I mean, she's just so worried about everything else that she doesn't. I mean, with the exception of seeking out Balekin, who's in something called, I think, the Tower of Forgetting, which I'm like, all right, that sounds interesting, but why is it the Tower of Forgetting? Because you put them there and people forget about them? Or they forget while they're in this tower? Like, why is this tower such a big deal? Anyways, the only time I really feel like she is an active participant in the stories when she goes to talk to him about something. Other than that, it's all about, oh, are people gonna find out my plan? How am I going to keep Carden in line? How am I going to keep Carden from outing me or doing something he shouldn't do because it'll ruin my plan? Like, you'd think this would be okay because that means she has a plan and that means she has an end game. But she just stands around and complains. And that was for the first book, essentially. Let me complain about all the ways my life sucks, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And when I have the chance to do something, it's not because I went after it. It's because I just happened to be there. So please, this is a book I really would love to hear why you liked it. Because I'm trying. I really am. But it's slow. And it has a protagonist I don't understand why anybody would like. Anyways. I need some water because I've complained a whole lot. It'll probably be like 6 months before I get through Wicked King. But I've basically given you the first half already, right? I mean, she's complained. There we go. Yeah. Have a good day. I have no idea what book I'm going to do next, but hopefully it'll be a good one.